The White House is working on an executive order to strengthen our elections in this country.
Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword.
There was only 20 men that were sent in, and those 20 men killed hundreds of their men, and none of those soldiers were injured. He talks about it felt like they were firing 300 rounds a minute. Nothing they've ever seen, nothing that they can compete with.
Hope you had a wonderful weekend. It's great to know we are on the offense. You can literally see the enemy running from all of the exposure, and it is wonderful. There are tons of comms for us this weekend around the media telling us to hold the line and so much more. Just going around the media and getting straight to us. Trump is trolling the media and left. We will get Greenland. He is now the president of Venezuela in one of his posts, and so much more great news on investigations. Oh, my goodness, do we have a show for you today. 500,000 followers and more on And We Know with Rumble. Thank you guys for following us there and hitting that like button. That gets us up to the top of the leaderboard on Rumble, and we're excited about that and your support there. Also, we still have some openings at the Freedom Cruise, March 15th through 22nd. We've got several patriots that are going to be joining us, including, we just had a recent edition of Julie Donuts is going to be joining us. And if you guys are wondering what it's all about, well, I'm going to take you on a journey of what it would be like just sitting there with the group. If you're looking at your screen, we'd be doing stuff like this.
Just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky star to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
You can see the tears flowing, the audience there, folks. We're going to have more than we had this last cruise. Very, very good time, with everyone from all over the world wearing And We Know shirts on a ship together. It's going to be wonderful. So I just hope you check that out.
You recently mentioned you think there are between $300 and $600 billion in fraud every year of federal funds?
That's not my number. That's the General Accounting Office. So it's about 10% of the federal budget, 1% to 2% of GDP. And if we can narrow that number, President Trump asked for a $500 billion increase in the defense budget to fortify 10, 20 years of neglect and the forever wars that we've been involved in that he's determined not to get us into. That if we need to flex up our military budget, if we can get rid of this waste, fraud, and abuse, we can finance a safer, sounder U.S. with that, without taking on more debt. It sounds pretty good outcome to me.
Pretty good outcome. Very simple, right? Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. We're bleeding at least $600 billion in fraudulent spending. And so much more. I mean, we've been catching on to this. It's been a great time to get the wake up of the country around it all, getting our defense budget increased so that we can pull off more of these, what we call great awakening projects, in that taking of Venezuela. Maduro, President Trump actually put out on Truth Social, official portrait 2025 with President Trump, acting president of Venezuela, incumbent January 2026, 45th and 47th president of the United States, incumbent. And so anyway, he's trolling. He's trolling. Can you imagine the left liberals freaking out over that? And it gives the news something to talk about. and more. President Trump said today the United States of America, in coordination with the interim authorities of Venezuela, seized an oil tanker which departed Venezuela without our approval. This tanker is now on its way back to Venezuela, and the oil will be sold through the great energy deal, which we have created for such sales. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Decades ago, the United States built Venezuela's oil industry at tremendous expense with American skill, technology, know-how, and dollars. But those assets were stolen from us, and we had presidents who did nothing about it. This president is much different than your other presidents. They did nothing about it. They stole it. Some of the people in this room were a little bit younger when that happened, but not that much younger. It wasn't that long ago. But they stole our assets like we were babies, and the United States did absolutely nothing about it. So now we're doing everything about it. Now we're doing 500% about it, but it's a long time after the act took place. So they stole from us, and it was taken by socialists and communists at the time, and Venezuela was going bad, really bad. And as much oil as they have, they're producing almost nothing. Almost nothing.
You know, it's interesting as he talks about Venezuela, and he says the 500% better. So I go to QAGG.news. I said, I'm kind of interested what that 500 might mean. So I went to 500. On that QAGG.news, typed in that number for the Q board and saw this. 500 says January 7th, 2018. Wow, DEFCON 1, 4/10/20. That's DJT. Fire and Fury, 9 states class ready to go live, 35 commands live, codes command action, non-nuclear, almost as if a signal's been sent. Venezuela was one of those. And we had some information on what happened in Venezuela to the enemy. Listen to this intel that came in showing exactly the capabilities that we have in the United States with our military. It's absolutely amazing.
A security guard that was protecting Maduro has spoken, and you got to hear what he said. It's in Spanish, but I'll translate. Also, Trump announced that, the cartels, they're going after him in Mexico. The whole vibe of Latin America has changed because of what happened in Venezuela. And now that we're getting firsthand accounts from people that were there, the soldier says they didn't hear him coming. He says the Americans had technology superior to anything they've ever seen. Everything that they were using for radar, for anything, was completely taken offline. They had drones, and the drones were taking out bases and taking out things faster. They didn't have no technology. They've never had to fight against drones. He also talks about that there was only 8 helicopters. There was only 20 men that were sent in, and those 20 men killed hundreds of their men, and none of those soldiers were injured. He talks about it felt like they were firing 300 rounds a minute. Nothing they've ever seen, nothing that they can compete with. And then he also talks to the fact that the Americans had some kind of sonic shock boom that was sent out, and everybody immediately started bleeding profusely out of their nose. They couldn't even gather themselves because whatever was sent at them made them fall to their knees and vomit blood out of their mouth and out of their noses. They were incapacitated immediately. He says he never wants to go through that again. Doesn't want to have to fight with the Americans again. He's sending warnings to everybody out there that you think you can fight the Americans. You don't even know what their weaponry is like and what they're capable of. 20 men took out hundreds.
Yep.
And that's starting to spread all through Latin America. And now they're not saying, if you want me, come and get me anymore. They're like, especially after Trump says, hey, Mexico, you're on the list too.
Oh, boy. Can you imagine the word getting throughout the entire earth, the capabilities of the United States? Maybe even Cuba heard about this. President Trump put this out. Cuba lived for many years on large amounts of oil and money from Venezuela. In return, Cuba provided security services for the last 2 Venezuelan dictators, but not anymore. Most of the Cubans are dead from last week's USA attack, and Venezuela doesn't need protection anymore from the thugs and extortionists who held them hostage for so many years. Venezuela now has the United States of America, the most powerful military in the world by far. To protect them and protect them, we will. There will be no more oil or money going to Cuba. Zero. I strongly suggest they make a deal before it's too late. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. DJT, 41020. You know, President Trump's not messing around. He posted a picture of him standing there on the White House in black and white. There are some show notes from Grasshopper on this because he connected the dots. President Trump posted this with the words soon from Thomas A. 137. Thomas A. 137, we are moving fast. Coincidence? Follow the connections. We have it all. Activated. Sessions soon. If schedule is known, better prepared. Signal intelligence. So moving forward with that even more so. Drago says Trump is limiting usury. He's got credit card rates at 10%. Trump banned BlackRock from buying homes. Trump ended the FEMA quarantine camps. Trump removed mercury from vaccines. Trump reduced optional childhood vaccine schedule from 72 to 11. He's set to eliminate income tax. The Golden Age. The Great Reset New World Order or the Nazi World Order is over. Boy, imagine putting all those words together. Again, let's say that. The Great Reset. Nazi World Order is what the Q board called it, is over. Thank you, Drago, for that. Accountability begins today. The grand jury will be impaneled in Fort Pierce, Florida. Obama-era officials, including former CIA Director John Brennan and senior FBI officials, were subpoenaed. There it is on your screen. Also, President Trump calls for Congress to pass the Save America Act, requiring citizenship in all U.S. elections. And of course, the media can't stand it when the information's put out showing that they cheat in elections. So the media has been paid off. These CIA agents, most of them, the liars, the ones who belong to Satan himself, will do anything they can to cause confusion. They don't want people to know the truth. But Caroline Leavitt knows how to handle this.
Whom and why? And also, in this vein, does the White House still plan to issue an executive order banning mail-in voting, and what legal authority do you have to do that?
The White House is working on an executive order to strengthen our elections in this country and to ensure that there cannot be blatant fraud, as we've seen in California with their universal mail-in voting system. It's absolutely true that there's fraud in California's elections. It's just a fact. It is just a fact. They have a universal mail-in voting system, which we know is ripe for fraud. And if you want to deny that, I'm happy to provide you all of the evidence for it. I'd be glad to send that to you after this briefing.
By rigged.
What does he mean by rigged? Asked the reporter. Really? So the reporter is supposed to do their job. They have to do the investigations. They need to fly into California to find the answers, make some phone calls and what have you. Instead, they're going to confront Caroline Leavitt and make it look like she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's not journalism.
Fraudulent ballots that are being mailed in the names of other people, in the names of illegal aliens who shouldn't be voting in American elections. There's countless examples, and we'd be happy to provide them. As for executive action the White House is taking, yes, we are looking into that. And like any executive order, of course, any executive order the president signs is within his full executive authority and within the confines of the law.
Oh, yeah. She only asked the question to get on Caroline's nerves. You guys get that, right? She doesn't ask as if she understands or really wants to know the answer to that. What does that mean, rigged? Doge designer voting without a valid ID should be illegal in every state across the United States. Elon Musk said yes. When a valid ID is required, well, boarding a plane, getting a prescription, applying for a job, cashing a check, applying for food stamps, driving, getting married, adopting a pet. When a valid ID is not required, voting. I've had enough. I'm going to show you some more of that in a moment. And also Nick Shirley, some of the things that he's gone through. Learning about this this whole issue of fraud going on throughout the United States and how it happened in UK and his thoughts about it moving forward into the United States of America. Have you been dealing with nagging pain, restless nights, constant stress, or just feeling drained? What if the solution was something as simple as wearing a watch? Introducing the new and improved WaveWatch 2.2, the world's first sound frequency therapy watch. This isn't just a timepiece, it's 166 powerful frequency sets, over 1,250 targeted frequencies designed to help your body restore balance naturally. Wear it on your wrist, pick a set for pain relief, deeper sleep, detox, energy boost, stress melt away, or even nerve support, and let gentle, safe sound waves do the work. No apps, no Bluetooth, just pure natural harmony. I use the watch for my back pain and also to regulate my sleep. My friend used it who had terrible knee pain affecting his bowling. Now he bowls pain-free. Another shared in less than a week improvements in liver, hip pain, nerve pain, and emotional balance. It's a blessing. Thousands are experiencing fast-acting wellness without chemicals or side effects. Right now, WaveWatch is giving And We Know fans a special deal. You get 15% off with code AWK. That's code AWK. That's a big savings on the WaveWatch 2.2. Don't wait. Supplies are limited and pre-orders are moving fast. Visit wavewatch.com/pages/AWK today. Use code AWK and take the first step toward feeling better naturally, because when we know better, we do better. Order now. Elon Musk says blue states are enabling massive fraud by not using voter ID. We know this, but it's worth a reminder as we get into all this.
Much, say, Hillary and Obama have changed their tune from prior speeches where they were hard-nosed about not letting in anyone who's a criminal into the country, having secure borders, all that stuff. So why did they change their tune? The reason is that they discovered that those people vote for them. That's why they want the open borders.
Because if you let people in, they know the Democrats let them in, they'll vote for Democrats.
Yes.
If you allow them to vote.
Which they're actively doing. They turn a blind eye to illegal voting.
Well, California literally doesn't allow you to show your license.
California and New York have made it illegal to show your photo ID when voting. Effectively, they've made it impossible to prove fraud. Impossible. They've essentially legalized fraudulent voting in California and New York. And many other parts of the country.
There's no rational explanation that I've ever seen anyone give as to why that would be the policy. Unless you were trying to just allow people to vote illegally, because there's no other reason.
The same people who are demanding that you have a vaccine passport are the same ones saying you need no ID to vote.
So they import their voters. They don't want them to have IDs so they can win elections. Nick Shirley's onto this.
They put him in solitary confinement for more than 100 days. For showing people what was happening inside his country.
Man.
And I know why it's happening.
Why is it happening?
Just for purely votes and to keep people in power. And
he's talking about the UK.
Also, I kind of knew this was going to happen in the United States after I'd gone to Europe a couple of times to do videos on what was happening, because Tommy Robinson, I had a sit down interview with him, and he goes, the reason why the Labour Party, the Democrat Party in the UK, the reason why they're able to stay in power is because they'll tell these Muslims they can go ahead, do whatever they want. A Muslim actually should be more conservative than they would be a liberal, because they don't stand for a lot of that progressive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They're not pro-LGBTQ+, they're pro-family, right? And so he goes, well, it doesn't matter to them because they have Sharia law. So that's above anything. And so if somebody goes to that mosque where 1,000 people go, they tell the mosque leader, we're going to let you guys do whatever you want. Just make sure you guys vote for us. So then when it comes day to vote, the leader of the mosque, everyone in the mosque will then go to the voting centers and go vote for that candidate. That's why in London, the mayor's Muslim, a lot of the towns around it are Muslim as well, and they actually have courts that are practicing Sharia law. And so I kind of knew that was going to happen inside of America as well. You have Mandami, for instance. Another thing Mandami advocated for when he was running was making childcare more affordable. What do we know about childcare now? In these daycare centers, they're complete frauds. And so I kind of knew what was going to start happening. Now you're kind of starting to see it happen here in America. So And now after they kind of forced my hand to start giving my opinion, which I wasn't doing, they asked for it. People are loving it now that I'm kind of speaking out against stuff. But I was originally just going to keep asking people questions, but now they've kind of turned my journalism into activism in a way where you forced my hand. Now I'm compelled to do this now.
Be careful. Don't let them force you into something that you think they don't want you to do.
Like what?
Like what you're doing.
Yeah. Well,
they'd rather have an activist than a competitor.
Yeah. You know, the Democrats hate ICE because ICE supports their illegal voting base, says C3. It's very simple. Elon agreed with that one. Nick Shirley really started something. He's like the trailblazer for these guys now going out with their microphones and cameras, exposing all of this crime with daycares. Check this out.
You're from around here?
I'm from around here, and they just popped up overnight. Ain't no kids in there. All this is just a front.
This guy said there's no kids in there.
So you're from Ohio. For many years you lived here?
Yeah. I've been living here for 20 years. These just became like daycare this summer, but I never seen kids. You know what they're doing. It's no joke.
So what do you think this is then?
This is a front. It's a scam.
Daycare on Cleveland Avenue.
Whoa, what'd you say?
Commerce Daycare.
So if somebody pulls up in a car and says, you need to go to the Commerce Daycare, go check it out.
Wait, can we talk to you real quick?
I'm just telling you, go to Commerce on Cleveland.
Is it fraudulent? You think it's fraudulent?
All of these are fraudulent. They've been doing this for years.
Whoa.
For years.
Whoa.
Everybody knew about it.
Please. You do not have a permission.
Now here comes one of the guys to basically cause problems.
To do this. Of course we do. Of course we do. It's every individual, whether a daycare owner or not, you're doing this? You standing here? We're asking questions. Why specifically and selectively going to Somalia? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Why? You gotta let me answer. Why? Do you want? That is a racist ideology. Do you want racist? No. Do you want me to doing selectively? Do you want me to answer or not? You do not have a permission. Just answer. Here's the situation. Please. There's all of these reports of fraud. Not terrorize the community. Nobody's terrorizing anybody. Am I a terrorist? I'm going to sue you. To be honest. You're going to sue me for what?
You're going to sue him for standing out and asking questions and exposing them for all the money they're stealing. And you start acting like that in the United States, and you come out and start screaming and yelling, and you start acting like this. But boy, I tell you what, things could get out of hand. California's out of hand, out of control. 449,000 registered voters couldn't perform jury duty because they weren't citizens. But they are registered voters. 500,000 of them. For Mila Joy, absolutely no federal aid without voter ID. Isn't that something? You know, all of this exposure and more. We're going to get back to Minnesota in a moment, but I wanted to show you this. The number of arrests under Republicans. You know, Republicans in charge, right? Wall Street Apes puts this out. Russia collusion, hoax, 0 arrests. J6, 0. Mar-a-Lago, 0. Biden auto pen, 0. Jeffrey Epstein client, 0. Doge findings, 0 arrests. COVID, 0. Benghazi, 0. Ukraine impeachment hoax, 0. Funding nationwide protests, 0. 2020 election stolen, 0. Allowing illegals voting, 0. But the Republicans arrested under the Biden administration, starting with President Trump, Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro, Rudy Giuliani, Mark Meadows. What other names do I know up here? Very interesting. Kelly Ward. I mean, there's a laundry list, folks. Plus 1,265 J6 defendants. Democrats arrested under Trump administration, 0. Yet they're the ones screaming and yelling, hooping and hollering with all the guilt that's been coming out. So Tapper, of course, has Kristi Noem on Communist News Network, CNN. And first I'm going to play this, the Sanctuary City post, and then I'm going to show you Tapper.
We would love that. These sanctuary cities, such as Minneapolis, are extremely dangerous for American citizens. And Jake, since we've been there, we've arrested dozens and dozens of murderers and rapists, individuals who have assaulted children and sodomized them. We just released a whole list of individuals just in Minnesota that we've arrested since we've surged personnel there, and it's incredible.
Just
so we would love it if the Minneapolis Police Force and the governor and the State police department would partner with us to help us do this work. We would.
Yeah. Just in Minnesota. I'm going to show you. I've actually got that one queued up a little bit later, but I'll show you now. Look at those faces. They actually put this out with a laundry list of each one and what they've done. These guys look like they're demon-possessed to me. ICE provided Fox News a list of the most egregious criminal aliens they've arrested during their surge in the sanctuary state of Minnesota. It's the most disturbing list we've ever seen. Convicted child rapists, 10 convicted killers, most with deportation orders going back many years, several from Laos, Somalia, and Sudan. One of them, Sredorn Paivon, a Laotian illegal alien convicted of strong-arm sodomy of boy and a strong-arm sodomy of girl, with a deportation order since 2018. It's harsh. It's what happens in our own communities. These were brought in illegally, told they can do whatever they want, given your taxpayer money probably, with debit cards. Maybe some of them started some daycares. Then they go out because they're criminals and they start committing crimes against American citizens. I've had enough. Listen to Tapper and what Noam does to him.
Doing a disservice to the officer by reaching a conclusion before the investigation takes place.
I haven't heard you.
You're doing a disservice to the officer. Making conclusions. How dare you? When guy, defending his life, Kristi Noem stops him.
Say once what a disservice it's done for Mayor Fry to get up and to tell ICE to get the F out of his city, and AOC to stand up before she had any of the facts and call this officer a murderer. For individuals, well, call them out, Jake. Spend as much time calling them out.
Okay.
I have provided you with facts and information to back up every single word that we have said and every single part of this investigation. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But we're going to continue to do the right thing to keep the American people safe.
In other words, it doesn't matter what you say. You can try all you want, Tapper, to cause problems. But we're going to do our job. And we're going to take care of this country, regardless of how they act, the politicians, including Ilhan Omar, inciting violence and death threats this weekend against ICE. Please, if you want to take a break and not listen to her voice, I apologize, but I wanted you to just hear what she says while she's sitting in the back of a vehicle, out there on the streets, sick.
We are going to show all of them the door out. And we are going to make sure that these people pay for what they have done to us. I am going to leave you with this. I love this community. This community raised me as an immigrant. This community also sent me to Washington, D.C. as a refugee to represent you. I carry that proudly. I am not somebody people describe about the challenges you all are experiencing. I'm someone who has lived it. And what I'll tell you is this. What we are going through today is going to create a different kind of community for us. We are going to forge a different path forward. We are going to use every single lesson we are learning today to make sure no community gets terrorized like we are being terrorized by Trump and his coonies ever again.
Ah, really? I wonder how that's working out for you. Well, let's go check it out. Let's see. ICE and Border Patrol. Oh, in Minnesota. Liberal agitators getting arrested. There we go. Yep, who's doing the terrorizing? They are. They're getting in the way of ICE officers who are arresting who? Criminals. Taking out the worst of the worst. And the people are out there trying to defend them. Yep, and they're taking them out one at a time. Let's see, do we have any more? Oh, yeah, we do. St. Paul Border Patrol agents smashed the window of a radical activist blocking their ops, yanked him out of the car, detained him on the spot. These warriors are not messing around. Zero tolerance for anyone. So they take him out. This guy's resisting, of course, like they normally do, putting him in handcuffs, and he doesn't have a leg to stand on, literally. Well, it kind of worked out. What else is going on in Minnesota?
Covered the other day, and one of our spending bills making its way through Congress was a $1 million earmark from Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, which was an earmark that was supposedly going to a substance abuse clinic, which actually happened to be housed in a restaurant and run by 3 individuals that share the same residential address, according to their IRS paperwork. Tons of red flags. So this is what we saw with the fraud involving the daycare centers. Now we see other earmarks coming directly from members of Congress where it seems fraud is being perpetrated as well. So I raised the issue, and fortunately, the House has now stripped that earmark out of that spending bill. But again, this is how easy money has been flowing to bad actors in Minnesota.
When are we going to see more arrests on that end? Because we're getting the information, finding out crimes that are committed. And we're going to see probably other things play out. Screaming loud and more. Ilhan Omar, she's mad about the investigations in Minnesota with the fraud and enforcing immigration federal law, wasting so much of our taxpayer resources, she said. Really? It's hard to make this up, says Western Linsman. Ilhan Omar is a part of a Somali fraud scheme that robbed $9 billion from American taxpayers. She goes on TV to argue that investigating that fraud is wasting our taxpayer resources. My, oh my. If there's ever a time to wake people up, this would be it. And let's go into Minneapolis, shall we, and look at Black Lives Matter.
Shut these streets down. Yes. Again. Make the city pay. Again. And again. There was one about losing money when George Floyd died. We as a people can cause them to lose more money now. If we don't stand together, we're going to fall. Together we stand, divided we fall. We as a community got to stop talking and do the work. We cannot work till somebody die again to do the work. ICE is a demon. They are not human beings. They are killers. They're killing on target.
The killers. ICE is the demon. They reverse it all, but the real demonic behavior comes from the likes of Black Lives Matter and others that are funded by George Soros. Even President Trump brought that up. I'm going to show you that in this amazing cartoon that was put together about ICE and liberals in a moment. You know what's happening in this country. Big corporations and the deep state are swallowing up family farms and ranches. We're talking 15 to 30,000 gone every year, folks. In just the last 5 years, 20.1 million acres of farmland erased. Families who've been raising your food for generations are being pushed off their land, and the ones who survive, well, they're hidden behind big corporate brands never recognized. That's why I want to introduce you to Tri-Tails Beef. They're a fifth-generation Texas family ranch, and they raise cattle the right way. Pasture-raised, grain-finished for flavor and tenderness, and never touched with mRNA shots. And here's something I love. They even source from other ranchers who meet their same high standards. It's all the same care, genetics, and integrity. Their beef is the real deal. High-end Black Angus genetics, aged to perfection, shipped straight from the ranch to your door. This isn't just about a steak. It's about taking a stand for American ranching, real food, and the families who make both possible. So if you want to fight back, if you want to keep your dinner table connected to real American hands, go to trybeef.com/AWK. and support Tri-Tales today in the description box below. Forward, I'm going to look at this cartoon here for you guys.
So now you're shooting a poor woman in Minneapolis. What's wrong with you people?
Oh, so now you guys care about white women. Not the white women that were sexually assaulted and killed by illegals. Not the white woman that was stabbed in a train. Not the white woman that was burned to death by an illegal in New York. Now all of a sudden you guys are crying and enraged and super sad?
You should be ashamed of yourself. ICE agent, she deserves justice. This isn't right.
If she would have succeeded in running me over and killing me, y'all would celebrate my death and start a GoFundMe to get her out of jail.
We don't celebrate anyone's death, and we don't excuse violent crime. Accountability applies to everyone, regardless of politics. Anyways, the victim, she was a mother and had kids.
Really? That argument didn't seem to matter when people were cheering violence toward Charlie Kirk. Maybe empathy shouldn't depend on politics?
Also, why was a single mother out in the middle of the afternoon looking for conflict? Where was the instinct to protect her child? Where was the responsibility to be home, working, raising her kids, building stability instead of chasing drama?
Maybe her kids was at that Somali Leering Center.
But it doesn't open till 2 p.m. Listen, being a victim does not erase bad decisions, and tragedy does not turn recklessness into virtue. That should be a huge takeaway.
Yeah, and if you're a parent, your job is to reduce risk, not run towards it. The fact is, every adult in America knows it is illegal to impede traffic and law enforcement. And Renee Good was an adult who had the ability to reason and follow instructions.
ICE are not real cops.
Oh, yeah. But when I say a trans woman isn't a real woman, it's a problem.
Yeah. Great cartoon just to help open the minds to understand what's going on. Ann Vandersteel showed us this. Take a close look at this document on your screen. It outlines stage payments for demonstrations, bonuses for bravery, and explicitly says, do not report this as income. If real, this raises serious questions about who is funding chaos and why secrecy is mandatory.
Disrespectful of law enforcement. The woman and her friend were highly disrespectful of law enforcement.
He's talking about Renee Good, who got shot.
You saw that they were harassing them, were following for days and for hours. And I think, frankly, they're professional agitators. And I'd like to find out, and we are going to find out, who's paying for it. With their brand new signs and all the different things. But these are professional agitators, and law enforcement should not be in a position where they have to put up with this stuff. What that woman and what her friend and what their other friends were doing to law enforcement, not just ICE, law enforcement is outrageous.
Yep. You know, it's amazing because if Renee Good had been murdered by an illegal alien, you wouldn't know her name. Elon Musk added, the left certainly would not care. Well, after the Supreme Court told President Trump he could not use the National Guard anymore and that he could only use the military to protect ICE, what's the only solution left from Ultra Magadine Erickson? Logically, the only way is the military. Think about logically. Fully controlled. We're going to need that. If you're looking at your screen, watch what happened. As a Somali mob rushed ICE agents in St. Cloud, Minnesota. The guys are outnumbered. They need National Guard support. The terrorists cannot win. The behavior that you're seeing was imported into this country. They're not assimilating. And they're surrounding the ICE guys. And you can imagine the thought process as these come out by the dozens to harass the ICE agents. You're going to need the military. It's the only way. Trump says Minnesota Democrat state officials are corrupt.
Do you believe that the FBI should be sharing evidence with state officials in Minnesota?
Well, normally I would, but they're crooked officials. I mean, Minneapolis and Minnesota, what a beautiful place, but it's being destroyed. It's got an incompetent governor, fool. I mean, he's a stupid person. And it looks like the number could be $19 billion stolen from a lot of people, but largely people from Somalia. They buy their vote. They vote in a group. They buy their vote. They sell more Mercedes-Benzes in that area than almost. Can you imagine? You come over with no money, and then shortly thereafter, you're driving a Mercedes-Benz. The whole thing is ridiculous. So they're very corrupt people. It's a very corrupt state.
Very corrupt people. He continues with that. And, if you see some of these protests happening on television, out of Chicago, for example, if you look at your screen, you can kind of have a zoom out from the group that seems to be protesting the ICE. There's very small numbers. But if you zoom in with the media, they're going to make it look like, oh my goodness, they're taking over the city. Social media clips and mainstream media make these protests look like they're massive. The reality is much different. The U.S. Department of Labor has been dropping Q drops. That's right, with their excuse me, I was going to say mainstream media. Good night. Their memes. This one has President Trump holding an umbrella with red in the background. Hold the line, patriots. Our nation is worth fighting for. Well, that's interesting because we have hold the line riders on the Q board 4714. Justice is coming. That's a slew of them that have been coming out from them. Remember, Trust the Plan, Trust Trump came out. And also, patriots are in control. And we're never giving up our fight to put America first. If it doesn't get any more clear that the Q board is being used in the U.S. government to go around the mainstream media, then I don't know what's going on with you. Nick Shirley continued his investigations inside of a grocery store where they admit
out of this grocery store, it's actually not just like
that they send millions home.
Normal grocery store. There's actually a bunch of other stores inside of the grocery store. So right here you have one store, right here you have another store, and then right here you have another store, then up here you have another store. In total, inside of this section of the grocery store, there are 6 separate stores. How's life here as a Somalian?
Life is good. I do phone bills, sending money to Africa. That's where I do. The business is good.
And how have you seen the rise of Somalians and the rise of Islam here inside of Minnesota?
As well, the rise is good and been allowed. We have a place to pray, and life is good.
How long have you lived here in America for?
For 10 years now.
And when you came here, did the government bring you here, or did you come here by your own choice?
I came here by my own choice. I was one of the refugees from Uganda. I was brought by UN.
You were brought by
refugee from Uganda, brought in by the United Nations.
The UN to come into the United States?
Yes. And life is good, We try to enter into businesses. We intermingle. And we do what is required.
Just a kind soul. Just sitting there and you say, I'll do an interview and tell you everything that's going on. Scott Bessent said they're going to get to the bottom of it.
Minnesota. And the Minnesota protocols will serve as a genesis and a launching pad for investigations into other states. First, we have followed the money and identified the money service businesses that may have transferred taxpayer funds overseas. Our team at FinCEN has just provided formal notification to these businesses that they are under investigation. These businesses had an obligation to comply with anti-money laundering laws, and they will be held responsible for any crimes they committed. FinCEN has also issued a geographic targeting order for Hennepin and Ramsey counties that
Oh man, it's all coming out.
To you about what you've said today about the awarding potentially of rewards for whistleblowers in this Somali fraud case, which is exploding clearly.
Yep. Look, we know that these rats will turn on each other. We heard today that one of the people who has been convicted of fraud, she was given $200,000 to bribe a juror, and she was so corrupt, she skimmed $80,000 of it and only tried to give a $120,000 bribe. So we are going to offer whistleblower payments to anyone who wants to tell us the who, what, when, where, and how this fraud has been done. And I think that will give us a great leap forward on how to get it done.
It sure will. Part of it's being exposed with Ilhan Omar.
Well, now investigators are tracking the web of fraud to other Minnesota Democrats, such as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Many of the suspects linked to the scheme live in her district, including a restaurant owner who hosted events for her. He has since been convicted of stealing $12 million in COVID funds.
Man, I'm so hoping to see that arrest soon. President Trump posted this chart: welfare use rates in Minnesota by households with children. Native households with children have 30% any welfare. Somali immigrant households with children have 89% use of welfare. Somali immigrant households with children less than 10 years in the United States, 86% of them. Wow. Food stamps, 62% Somali immigrants. Only 10% for those from America. Medicaid, 28% from those from America. 86% Somali immigrant households. Some other news. Houston Wade, a leftist activist with a long history of calling Republicans and Trump supporters pedophiles, was arrested in Washington after allegedly trying to meet up with an 11-year-old child. That's right. I'm showing you the receipts on the screen. Libs of TikTok showed this. This guy called Rock God. I'm sorry that your pedo king, God king, is failing you, and that your personal identity is so tied up with him that you'll log on and put your blinders on to defend him regardless of what is actually happening. Yeah, he's talking about Trump. And he just has a litany of things that he talks about accusing Republicans of doing. Yet here he is, arrested for the very thing he's calling out.
Turn around right there, dude. Turn around. His name's Houston. Walk him back. Put your hands on top of your head, bud. He's good. Walk him back. Walk him. You're under arrest.
There's like 50 people here. What's going on?
We'll talk to you.
There he is. All of those times that he called Trump a pedo. All the times that he talks about American Republicans. And now he's in the back seat. The very thing he was screaming about. Busted. How about some positive news out of Greenland? We're going to get it.
Again, we're using maps here. You got to use your imagination a little bit. This is not flat. This comes up to the Arctic Circle. This all comes to the top of the sphere. So if we draw a line and just...
This is not flat. I just had to pause it for a second for all you guys that get so angry. If I even mention anything like that, my goodness, people freak out. But if you say it in a positive way, hey, folks, just want to let you know, even though it looks flat on your screen, it's not flat.
Consider this, the north part of the approaching the Arctic Circle. Look at all of these Russian military bases, hundreds of them. And in those Russian military bases, which are on Russian land, but incredibly close, if not in the Arctic Ocean and Greenland, which is incredibly close to us, we look at some of the assets here, and that's where we start to take notice. There are naval assets here. Think a lot of their nuclear submarines, things of that nature, and opportunities to cross the Arctic Circle and get to us really quickly. Again, what it comes down to is Russia is a northern country. Of course, we're going to have more going on up here. What can we do to monitor this, to combat this, to deter this? We had the nuclear missile crisis in Cuba because they were trying to get closer to us. Well, if we owned Greenland, that's not a problem because then that's our territory and we can put whatever we want there. Not to say we can't in some ways already, but it really makes strategic sense. And what's right below Russia in this area? We have another big foe. So this idea.
Oh boy. So let's talk to President Trump about Greenland.
They can offer you for a deal?
If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will. And I'm not letting that happen. If we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will take Greenland. And I am not going to let that happen.
He's not going to let that happen. We're going to reclaim the Western Hemisphere. Also, President Trump threatened to veto the bill passed by the House to give tens of billions of dollars in Obamacare subsidies to big rich insurance. 17 House Republicans joined Democrats in a betrayal Good. This must fail. Also, President Trump came out and said, hey, I'm putting a cap on credit card interest. Did you guys hear about that? Please be informed that we will no longer let the American public be ripped off by credit card companies that are charging interest rates of 20 to 30% and even more, which festered unimpeded during the sleepy Joe Biden administration. Affordability. Effective January 20th, 2026, I, as President of the United States, am calling for a one-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%. Coincidentally, the January 20th date will coincide with the one-year anniversary of the historic and very successful Trump administration. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again.
With no help from the Fed, because we have a total stiff at the Fed.
Do you have any, can I ask you, the announcement on the cap on credit card interest rates that we put out on Friday, what happens if the credit card companies don't comply by the January date?
Well, then they're in violation of the law. Very severe things. No,
so if they don't do this, they're going to violate the law if they don't stick to what President Trump's passed about capping that interest rate at 10%. It's going to help us out quite a bit. Also, there's a attorney, U.S. Attorney Pirro, launched a criminal investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell. He lied to Congress about massive Federal Reserve spending on his massive renovation boondoggle. Jail might be in Powell's future. And I wasn't going to play, I'll go ahead and play this. Just a reminder of what President Trump did to him.
Billion, it went up a little bit, or a lot. So the 2.7 is now 3.1.
2.7 billion now is 3.1 billion for this stupid Fed Reserve building they expect us to build for you, even though it's not government. It's its own company, its own entity, yet we're stuck with the bill. Jerome Powell's sitting there going, no. He's trying to act like President Trump is lying.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, I haven't heard that from anybody at the Fed.
Yeah, it just came out.
Just came out. President Trump pulls out the proof right out of his jacket. Here you go. Jerome Powell looks at it. You guys remember that? That's right. You're being told you're a fraud. You're in big trouble. Mortgage rates dropped below 6% for the first time in 4 years. President Trump put that out. So what has President Trump done? He's called for a 10% cap on credit card interest rates, banned institutional purchases of single-family homes, bought $200 billion of mortgage bonds to lower rates, called for the Fed to cut interest rates to 1% in 2026, made $2 a gallon gas prices a top economic priority, announced $2,000 tariff stimulus checks. Midterm election year is about to be insane. Don't you know it? And, it kind of gets us into some other things that I think he's had a pretty big hand in making sure plays out. It's that wonderful, wonderful silver price. Do you guys know the last information that I got on silver was that it hit $84 in a record rally, hit January 12th. $84. How many of you guys jumped in when it was 20, 25? How about 30, 35? How about 40 or 45? With all these interviews that we've done with Dr. Kirk Elliott, where he kept saying it's going to go up, it's going to go up. He predicted 75 by the end of 2025, and it's continuing to grow, and it's never too late because it's going to be a 10-year growth spurt. If you listen to our interviews, folks, with Dr. Kirk Elliott, he's told us it's going to go on for 10 years. Woo! Go to amweknow.com/gold to get on this wonderful silver train. It is changing people's lives. I just got an email the other day, 145% increase in somebody's IRA, and they thanked us via email for these interviews. Pretty cool. Also, our health is going to be so much better with RFK Jr.
Vegetables and whole grains. And today, Mary, we're spending $5 trillion annually on health. We spend 3 times per capita what European countries do. And we have the worst health outcomes, and it's mainly driven by food. About 40 cents in every taxpayer dollar now goes to food-induced chronic diseases. So the only way that we're going to lower healthcare costs in this country is by helping Americans to change their diet and eat healthy food. And this is the first major step.
First major step to get us healthy. We need our health, folks, to move forward. We need our children healthy, our grandchildren. And it was pretty amazing because the White House posted a video across all social media of the military destroying fast food, namely pizza and hot dogs. You guys see this? I'm going real slow across the screen. They're shooting missiles at pizza and hot dogs. What has pizza and hot dog notoriously been used for as code words in the past? Do you guys know? And it says eat real food. What do you think this message is doing for most people? Yeah, Pizzagate. They're destroying those that allowed all of the criminals across this earth to prey on our children. They're destroying them and their networks. And they just happen to use the White House, use this food thing to, help you destroy fast food also. But there's a message there. Also, the Supreme Court is reportedly on the verge of ruling in favor of banning men in women's sports. It's about time. What else do we have? Bible sales in the UK surge 134% over the past 6 years. Why do you think that happens? Folks, have you ever noticed you never meet an atheist in a foxhole? Have you ever heard that, when you're going through major problems? I told you I've been to the UK a few times when I was stationed in Germany. I went there to visit a few friends. They had a church there that we played worship in. I'll never forget going into the local bookstores, and just about every book that I saw was on witchcraft. Harry Potter and some others. And I was like, where are the books? Where are the Bibles? Where's Scripture? What happened? You got all these beautiful churches throughout Europe, and you just hardly ever see anything like that anymore. And, well, now, with all that disappointment from their politicians, all of the lying and the cheating from the enemy, folks are starting to then look to the truth, the Word of God. President Trump posted this picture also, the entrance to Mar-a-Lago. Somebody said, look at this. There's 4 steps going in to that entrance. There is no step 5. Remember that on the cue board, November 19, 2019? End. Q. Could that be the message there? Also, the Doomsday plane departed LAX around 2:30 Pacific time, followed by a C-17 on January 10th. It's the first time, what's believed to be the first appearance in its 51-year history flying the Boeing 747 E-4B Night Watch. The Doomsday plane showed up at LAX. 51 years, you say? Well, 51 on the cue board says, Dear Patriot, we hear you. We hear all Americans such as yourself. The time has come to take back our great land. The time is now. Rest assured, POTUS is backed by the absolute finest people alive who are all dedicated to the eradication of evil and corruption from the U.S. and from the world. Find peace. God is with us. God bless and be safe. The White House. And of course, that umbrella. Santa Surfing saying, umbrella, storm coming, red background, DEFCON 1. Interesting catch. Have a great weekend, Patriots, from Rapid Response 47 with that picture of President Trump. And last but not least, Dan Scavino had an ex-post. Happy National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Ultra Magadine Erickson caught this. It has a timestamp of 10:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Seems like Dan is sending a clear message to all our law enforcement officers around the country. Q1005. We are under attack. That's 10:05 posting, remember? We are under attack. War. No deals.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you once again, thanking you for your guidance and direction in our life. Thank you for the constant sense of watching the enemy fall on their heels day in and day out. The offense is here. We sense it, we see it, we understand it even more so, to help wake up those that are still asleep, that are still falling prey to the lies of the mainstream media. You see it, you understand it, and you have a wonderful operation with great leadership that you put together over the decades to help answer prayer for many, many years. Prayer for the eradication of this evil that's destroying our children, destroying them in the schools, on the airwaves, on the television, in the music, in the movies, on the TV shows, in politics, and more. We ask that you would help guide and direct parents as they teach their children. Help the UK as they're looking into the Word of God and they're searching for the truth. May many eyes be opened, not only there, but across this entire earth. We thank you for what seems like a revival of many hearts turning to the Word of God, realizing this evil and that there it is right before our very eyes, and that only you can defeat it through the leadership that you have chosen at this time. We ask for continued protection over our president, over the leaders that are on the front lines, Nick Shirley and others that have, Nick Sortor even, watching him getting attacked in the streets there in Minnesota. We ask for their continued protection from this radical evil that has possessed many people across the United States and more. Help us, O Lord, each second of every day. We bring this before you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen and amen. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support, for your prayers, and so much more. We are so grateful for each and every one of you. Have a great remainder of this week. We hope for great things to come. For now, it's LT Semper Fi with them we know. Signing out.
Our elections in this country.
Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword.
There was only 20 men that were sent in, and those 20 men killed hundreds of their men, and none of those soldiers were injured. He talks about it felt like they were firing 300 rounds a minute. Nothing they've ever seen, nothing that they can compete with.